Welcome everyone to our third event today, hosted by BA Career Meetup Group. The founder of this group is Sophie Chen. You're probably familiar with her already. Sophie, can you just give a big wave to everyone so we know who you are? The purpose of this group is to help and support each other in this BA journey. Whether you are an aspiring BA or already employed BA, we welcome you to join our community. If you are interested in knowing more about us, so please reach out to Sophie Chen via LinkedIn or following us on the links. And Yan will be dropping some information and the links in this chat box. My name is Annie, your facilitator today. It is our privilege to have Amber Joseph to join us. Amber is the founder of NextWork and the trainer of Salesforce. She has a passion to change the vocational education model, and her company's motto is where anyone, anywhere has access to whatever vocational pathway they want at any time. She's passionate in coaching others and sharing her experience. So in today's session, they will be divided into two parts. Amber will be the driver for the first part. And so Amber will cover what is Salesforce, what is involved, how learning Salesforce opens up opportunity for business analysts to progress their career, what are different career pathways out there. Amber will also share some success stories and the course structure. And the second part, from the audience out there, we will invite you to be the driver for this part. We will use a Slido to collect and prioritize your questions. So you can use the QR code or the link to access the Slido event page. And so add your questions or vote for the ones you would like Amber to answer. So now, without further ado, I will turn the time over to Amber. Amber, it's all yours.
Thank you so much. Super excited to be here. So thank you for the invite, Sophie, and for everyone with their hard work in the BA group. You guys are doing so much behind the scenes, and it's very, very exciting to see. I think it's a super cool field. And there's a lot of crossover with Salesforce, which I love. So that's what I'm here to talk to you all about today. I'll be sharing a bit of my journey and then covering a lot of the points that Annie was talking about. So I reckon let's get straight into it. Yeah. So the structure of this, I'm just going to do an intro to who I am, a bit of my journey, why I started teaching what I did and how I got here. And then I really would love for this to be quite interactive. So I'll be making use of the chat a lot. So feel free to pop in any comments or questions or things that you have in the chat, because I'll be asking, what your opinions and thoughts are on quite a few things. And then we'll talk a bit about Salesforce and what it is if you've never heard of it before, and how it kind of plays in with the BA role in quite a beautiful kind of complementary fashion. So next slide, please. Yes, so my personal journey. I was actually born in the UK, always a bit of a creative mind, making a bit of a mess. But I moved to New Zealand when I was very young. I don't remember any of my time in England, and lived in Palmerston North. If anyone is from Palmerston North or has been to Palmerston North, or quite often you just drive straight through it, which don't blame you at all. But that's where I grew up, and I really enjoyed kind of my time there, but I really wanted to do something a bit bigger. So I made what I thought was the big city jump to Wellington, and I couldn't believe that they had buildings that were, bigger than 3 stories, and they had skyscrapers, and I was near water, and it was all very exciting. And I chose to study software engineering. This was something that I had 0 experience in. I did not take calculus. I didn't take any sciences. I think my favorite subjects at school was painting and like social studies and English. But I decided if I was going to pay all this money for university, I better learn something that is going to take me from absolutely no skill, like almost negative skill, to something that I really had no idea about. So I took a bit of a gamble, but I really enjoyed it. I think where a lot of people breeze through first year, I found it a real struggle because I had none of the background or the knowledge that most people had. And I did an exchange in Singapore for a year, which really upped my work ethic. If anyone has studied abroad or seen Singapore work culture, it is super intense. So a year studying there by myself really kicked me into overdrive. And when I came back to New Zealand, I felt like everyone was just moving in slow motion. And I was so used to this crazy work culture that I kind of went a bit nuts in my final year. We ended up doing a project for a real world client, and the client asked us to build them a website. So we built them a website and then presented it to them in like our final presentation. Like this was meant to be it, the end of the like technical part, and then you write it up in a big report. And they said, that's a fantastic project, but we'd like you to build it in Salesforce. And we had never heard of Salesforce before. We were all, just programmers. And we said, what programming language is that? They said, it's not a programming language. It's like a platform that you have to learn. So while everyone was finishing off their project, we were kind of starting it again. But I loved it. I started going along to meetups, kind of like this BA1 that's going on here. And I started talking with more people, asking questions, and people started offering me jobs. They started saying, hey, we have a Salesforce job opening. What are you doing over the summer? Do you need a graduate role? And I couldn't believe it. The struggle to get a job is definitely real. And here they were just offering me jobs without even really an interview, just by talking and networking at these events. So I thought, like, crikey, there's something here that I should follow. And in my final year for my thesis, I decided I would design my own thesis and made it about Salesforce. So I designed this app that was meant to help people understand Salesforce orgs quickly. It was designed for consultants. And it was good fun. It was great. And during that final year, I had a little website going, salesforcetraining.co.nz. And I was just posting on this website what I was learning, some blogs. And I was really hoping that people would pay attention to it so that I could get a really good job. I really wanted to work at Salesforce. And that dream kind of came true. I got an offer for a graduate position at Salesforce. And I was so excited. I took it up. I had to move to Auckland. So I found a flat in Auckland, booked my tickets, packed my bags. And in the week before I was due to leave, I got a message through my website, salesforcetraining.co.nz. And it said, hi, we're looking for someone who can teach our sales team Salesforce. Your website is Salesforce Training. Do you think you could come and teach everyone in our company? And I said, yes, question mark. What's involved? And they said, well, we think it's going to take about 3 months, and just let us know what your rate is. And that was like a massive moment for me, because at the time I was going for 50, 60K sort of job as a starting grad in software, and they were asking me my rate, and that was crazy. So I put down, I didn't really think I was going to get anything from this, so I think I put down like a crazy number, which was like 6K a day or something nuts like that. And they were like, oh, that's so much, we can't do that. I'm so sorry, how about like 1.2K a day? And I thought, like, oh my God, they're serious. So I picked up the phone and I rang Salesforce and I said, like, okay, I've got this 3-month gig. I would really like to do it. I think it's going to be awesome. Do you think that we could push back my start date? And they said, no. They said, no, it's a grad program. You start when you start, and not at all. So I turned down Salesforce and took this jump to go out on my own and do consulting. And the 3-month contract turned into an 8-month contract. And then after that, I did another contract. And then people started approaching me, just friends on LinkedIn, and asking, I want to learn Salesforce. I want to get certified. I'd like to change careers. I think there's good career prospects here. And eventually enough people said that I thought I'd do a free like evening course, just a quick one. And 800 people showed up. 800 people signed up, and about 500 people showed up. And from there, I launched a paid course 2 weeks later. And that was the start of NextWork. So NextWork has now been going on for about 1.5 years. It's been so cool, such a fantastic ride. And I love it. And that's kind of this photo here is from a walk that we did in January, was it, or December? I can't remember. But that was really cool, and the community is just getting to be full of amazing, wonderful people, a lot of people who I see today. So that's my journey to date. Next slide, please. So how does this relate to BAs, and what are some skills that a BA needs? I'm really curious to get your guys' thoughts on this. So if you could pop in the chat, you may be a BA already, you may not be a BA, you may not even know what a BA does, or maybe you have some ideas, but just pop them in the chat. What are some skills that you think a BA needs in their role? There's not really any right or wrong. Yep, understanding business needs. Yes, requirements, good communication and listening skills, time management, communication, stakeholder engagement. Yes, critical thinking, communication. Yep, and other stakeholder management, domain knowledge, analytical skills. Yeah, communication, stakeholder management, interactive engagement, thick skin. Alan. Listening skills, time management. Yeah, exactly. Awesome, fantastic. Yep, agile is really good. Be a good information filter. Oh, that's a good one. That's actually quite a good one. Yeah, being able to filter what's important. Business process model notation. Yes, very cool. Epic. So some really cool skills here, actually. Some ones that we're seeing coming up a lot is things like communication, stakeholder management. So managing multiple different partners or people that are involved in projects. Having listening and being able to prioritize tasks that are coming in. Critical thinking, being able to make decisions on the fly. Logical thinking. So it's really a role that involves a lot of communication with other people. It's a role where you've got to make a lot of decisions, and you've got to be able to back up your decisions with some real logic and some real thinking behind it. You know, it's not just off the cuff sort of thing. You've got to be able to make the right call for the right reasons. And often this means disappointing quite a few people, you know, or perhaps having some difficult conversations, which is where the communications comes in. Wonderful. Next slide, please. So this is an interesting question that I think kind of follows on from this. Should a BA have hard skills or soft skills? You know, I'd be keen to think about people's thoughts on this, because a lot of the time, you know, we're talking mostly about soft skills here, which are more of your communication, more of your relating to others. Whereas a hard skill is more like a technical skill that you would need to know. So I would wonder, you know, if you are a BA, have you had to use hard skills? If you're not a BA, do you think that they are necessary? Do you think that they are useful? Do you think that they're needed at all? You know, I would be keen just to hear what people have to say. Soft skills are harder skills. Yeah, ain't that the truth? And a BA needs both, and it depends on your role and your project. That's a really good answer, Sophie. Yeah, I love that one a lot. That's very cool. Anyone else? Any other thoughts? Not a BA, but hard skills are required to get into the position. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. You know, it depends on what they're hiring for. You have to be familiar with the frameworks, otherwise you feel lost. Yeah, often that's a real crucial one, actually. It can be about you understanding the lingo or the language of the project that you're in or the teams that you're working with. Yeah. Ideally both, or at least a solid understanding of some of the technical aspects of the project you're working on. Hard skills look good on a CV, important to display soft skills in an interview. Yes, soft skills will get you the job mostly, but hard skills can be very, very valuable as well. Maybe tech BA will require more hard and tech skills. Yeah, absolutely. Both having hard skills will provide abilities when you interact with other stakeholders, teams, especially involved with IT or technology. Yes. Hard skills are useful too, but most importantly, being able to understand and learn quickly. Yep, for sure. Need both, but I think soft skills may be more important than hard skills. For example, learning skill is a soft skill, and you can learn a hard skill quickly. Yeah, absolutely. So I think what I've seen in our courses, when we have students who come from a BA background or are thinking about going into a BA role, is that they have very strong soft skills, right? The soft skills are usually really good. And that makes sense because it's a good match for a BA role, all right, as we've kind of discussed and talked about. But where a hard skill comes into handy is for those specific projects that have this one platform or this particular technology that is being used. They also kind of play an important role when it comes to applying for a first job. So if you've got you and then 50 other BAs, or how many people do we have on this call? Yeah, 51. There you go. That wasn't too bad. Yeah, 51 other BAs, and everyone is looking for a BA role. You know, and everyone's got fantastic soft skills. You're looking for something that's going to give you an edge, something that's going to boost your application. And it's kind of the same wherever you go, really. For example, me with software, the thing that gave me the edge was having the Salesforce experience. It wasn't a common combination doing a software degree and having Salesforce. And the same is kind of true with BA roles, is that there is enough of an overlap in industry with using Salesforce and then the role of a BA that having this will help to set you apart. You know, it gives you an edge and it gives you that extra boost. Yeah, Sophia is saying Salesforce is a skill that is highly sought after these days. I've heard of quite a few companies wanting their BA to understand Salesforce. Absolutely. And a big reason for that is that you've got like some of the people who built Salesforce and they know what they're doing. And then you've got the rest of the company who doesn't know what's going on. And the BA role is often to kind of be in the middle of that and navigate that space and make sure the business can progress. And to be able to do that truly, you have to be able to understand the platform. Yeah, they come hand in hand. This is what I would say. I'd say soft skills are kind of necessary for BAs, but the hard skills are what's going to make you go from a good BA to a great BA, like someone who they're like, wow, this person is doing like an amazing job. They are pivotal to the organization, and they're providing so much value that we just can't survive without. Like they are that pivotal. All right, very cool. Next slide, please. So let's list some companies that hire BAs. Who hires BAs? Where are people working if you're a BA? Where are people seeing jobs? Banks. Banks love BAs. Yeah, that's a good one. Banks for sure. Consulting firms, government, yep, for sure. Tech companies, yep. Absolutely. Insurance, oh yeah, insurance companies, for sure. Yeah. Big corporate. Yeah, I think what we're seeing is that it's a lot of big corporate, right? I think that these big companies, Big Four, governments, these are all very large organizations. Yeah, pretty much all industries. So what's interesting about this is that when we're looking at Salesforce and we're looking at, all right, well, who has Salesforce? It ends up being all of these big companies because Salesforce is so damn expensive. So Salesforce is not a cheap product. It is an expensive product. And you'll find it in use in these really large companies. So the biggest Salesforce instances in New Zealand are at the following places. They're in government, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education. These are all running off Salesforce. The whole COVID vaccine system was completely built on Salesforce. And now they're working with Microsoft. So Salesforce is huge in government. In fact, when COVID struck and they decided they'd do all this tracking, it was like this huge like suction of every other company of Salesforce talent, and they all just ended up in government. The consultancies, a lot of them work for government. So a lot of them have Salesforce, huge Salesforce teams there. Banks, ANZ, BNZ, they all use Salesforce. Yeah, ACC uses Salesforce. Who else? Xero tech company, has one of the largest Salesforce teams. I think last time I checked, they were up to like 70 or 80 people, which is just nuts. Like that is bigger than the ANZ team. Like it's just a huge team for Xero. But yeah, all of these big companies have Salesforce, and they come along with BA roles. They come along with roles that pay really well because they're of this size. So when you're thinking about, all right, well, how can I make myself more valuable to go into one of these companies to get this dream job? You want to be trying to hit as many points at that company that you can add value as possible. So, you know, you've got these awesome communication skills, you've got these requirement skills, but what else do they use? So often if you're really set on a company, it's good to look at, you know, what are some hard skills that I can learn that this company uses, because it's going to set me apart. When I apply, they're going to be like, oh, this is fantastic. They already know this. We don't have to teach them. Or they can start to add value straight away. And the great news about Salesforce is that it just covers so many companies. Awesome. So for next. So what is Salesforce? We've kind of talked around the topic a bit. But Salesforce, if you've never used it or heard of it before, is just a really huge, fancy database for all of your customer information. So if we take it right back to a really basic level, and you imagine that you are selling t-shirts, all right, you're like at a little market or something and you make your own t-shirts and you sell them. Well, maybe you sell it to 10 people and you just write down all of your customers on a piece of paper with their emails. And then when a new t-shirt comes out, you email them, this is my new t-shirt. But you also want to record like their t-shirt size, maybe their favorite color, maybe when their birthday is, so that you can send them like a birthday message. And suddenly, you know, if your t-shirt business is going really well, then you don't just have 10 people, but you have 100, and then you have 1,000. And then what if you had 10,000 people? Suddenly your little spreadsheet isn't really going to cut it anymore. And that's where Salesforce came in, and they said, screw this, you know, trying to keep track of all of our customers on Excel or just on a spreadsheet, or using Oracle. At the time it was Oracle, is way too hard. So we're going to create a CRM, which is customer relationship management. We're going to create a CRM which is available on the internet, which was like, whoa, that's so crazy. So they created one that you can access from a browser, and it just kind of expanded from there. And now it's huge. They own so many other companies. They own Slack, they own MuleSoft, Tableau. If you're in the analytics space, then these might mean something. If not, don't worry about it. They're just a big company. They do a lot of different stuff, but at its core, Salesforce is a CRM. Cool. So the Salesforce Admin, what does the Salesforce Admin do? We talk about the Salesforce Admin because the first certification that is best for you to get in Salesforce is the Salesforce Administrator certification. And this is the best one to start with because it provides you a really great overview of all of Salesforce, or majority of Salesforce, I should say. It teaches you the basics. It gives you enough to get your first job, and then you can choose to specialize. There must be 20 plus different Salesforce certifications now that you can get. But this one is the best one to start with because every other certification or exam that you go and do is going to include content that you have already covered in your admin certification. So it's kind of like you're getting the most bang for your buck to begin with, and it opens up the most doors for you. So while we talk about the Salesforce admin role, it could actually be a number of different roles. It could be that you go into a technical BA role. It could be that you go into a functional consultant role. You could become a in-house admin, you know, working at a smaller company. You could become a sales process lead. You could become a Salesforce product owner. You could become a tester. I mean, there's a huge range of jobs that you can get just with this one certification. And the Salesforce admin role is just kind of a generic way of saying, this is what, this is one of the many jobs that you can get with this certification. And And that's what we're going to talk about today, but just keep in mind that there are more job kind of pathways from this than just this one role. Cool. So what a Salesforce admin does, and a lot of this might sound actually quite similar to a BA role. User stories, scoping and prioritization. 100%. You will get a lot of requests on business things that need to happen. You know, we're changing the way that we're selling this, or we want to increase how our sales reps are going to do this process, or internally we want a new HR system, or whatever it is. You know, it could be anything. Often it falls on the Salesforce admin to actually go out, create the user stories, scope out how much this is going to be, and prioritize it. And it's hard to do that if you don't know how much work it's going to take to build it. So if you're not aware of the technical side of things, it can be very hard to scope and prioritize properly, which is why understanding the language, understanding the work involved is going to make you so much more valuable. User administration. Salesforce is usually the backbone of a company, and it's got the whole company often logging into Salesforce. So managing all of these people is a big part of a Salesforce admin role. Data gatekeeping and security, understanding who can access what information. Should the CEO be able to see everything in the business? You might think straight away, oh yeah, the CEO should be able to see everything. But often that's a really bad idea. Maybe the CEO should only be able to see the top level statistics. Maybe it's not a good idea for the CEO to be getting involved in the everyday detail of a customer or a sale. So, you know, these sorts of questions, which end up actually being quite business questions, are things that a Salesforce admin has to consider and deal with. Data management, responding to user questions and requests, automating processes, you know, things that are manually can be very slow and clunky. A Salesforce admin has fantastic abilities to automate a lot. And it's a really cool experience when you do something that is quite simple in Salesforce, but it takes half an hour of someone's day for a task that they hate. And their response is always something like, wow, like, oh my goodness, this has made my day so much better. You know, you completely changed my life. And you think, well, that wasn't that hard. So if you like being told you've done some awesome work, then this is a cool job to get into. Creating reports and dashboards. Training, you know, when you create a new feature, you often have to go and train people. This is what we've created. This is how you use it. Project management and staying current. So there's a lot that goes into a Salesforce admin role. And Sophie, I think on the next slide, I've got a bit of a quote about it. Yeah, I love this quote. So this is from a senior consultant who used to be a Salesforce admin. And he says that admins end up wearing two hats. One is the break and fix it hat. So it's a little like being a ticket taker at like a counter or a store. Your mindset is, who's next? Like, someone wants this, they want it right away, I need to get it done, move on to the next thing. This is helping people like every day in their work and things like that. And then the other hat, which is, you know, very similar to a BA role, is very project based. So admins are usually involved in projects that can move the needle for an entire company or a department. Like, these are big projects. And this is usually more fully scoped. You know, it's got a timeline. You've got all these different environments that you're working in. You've got to give demos. You've got to get feedback. You've got to make changes. And having the skills and the know-how of this process is unbelievably powerful. So a lot of the time when we're teaching Salesforce and they don't have the background of this like a BA would, then they struggle with this part of the job, right? Because it's very overwhelming. How do I make these decisions? How do I scope a project? Whereas if you are thinking about doing a BA role, then you already know this. You know, you've already got the goods. You can just sprinkle like a little bit of extra like Salesforce magic on it, and suddenly it just comes to life in this really unique combination. So I think this is very true of a Salesforce admin role. You're constantly dealing with, like, you know, the day-to-day, this is what's going on in the company, someone's having this issue. And then on the other side, you're working on these huge projects, which have a lot of impact and are a lot more complex. Awesome. So the technical skills for a Salesforce admin, what do you need? The Salesforce admin certification, for sure. This is like a it's not your golden ticket. I think when I started with Salesforce at the time, it was super, super hot. Like it's still really, really popular. But when I started, it was like absolutely off the charts. Like no one knew it. So anyone with a certification could almost walk in and get a job. Not the case anymore. The standards have raised a little bit. So you still have to be like a decent communicator and a good human being and things like that. But you need the admin certification. It's really important for you to be able to get that foot in the door, get that interview, and then you just wow them with your incredible charisma. Potentially, you can get some additional certifications if you like. There's some other ones. I don't think these are necessary to get a job, but they can be very useful. So there's other parts of Salesforce, a product called Sales Cloud and another called Service Cloud. Depends on the business that you're in, depends on the project and where you want to go in your career personally. So that's an additional nice to have. Strong Salesforce platform knowledge. Often, particularly in New Zealand, if you are working for a smaller company, you will be the only one with Salesforce knowledge there. So it's both a blessing and a curse because you will have no choice but to get really good. But often there's no one else that you can call on for help, which is why you get so good, you know. But strong platform knowledge is good. And then knowledge and experience with data management and data analytics. If you don't know this already, you definitely learn it on the go. So don't worry too much about it. It all stems from that certification. Cool. Your business skills as well. You know, communication is 100% on the cards. A Salesforce admin isn't really in one department. Like I said before, they're kind of the backbone of a company, right? So when I was working as a Salesforce admin, it's like I was having conversations with the COO and the CEO in the mornings, and then I go and speak to the customer delivery team, and then I go and speak to the finance team, because the processes that you're building in Salesforce impact all of them. So you have to be able to have conversations, and often ones where you're telling people, sorry, we can't do that. It's not possible across the whole business. Action orientated, you have to get stuff done for sure. And strategic thinking, you've got to be thinking long term, because if you were just to solve everything with like a quick band-aid sticker, very soon Salesforce is going to start being a real pain to use and no one's going to want to use it. So yeah, all of these really important. Pay and jobs. The average in New Zealand is probably about a 70K if you are absolutely brand new to Salesforce. So if you are brand new, you've just got certified, you have no previous Salesforce experience, and you're coming from a completely unrelated professional career. So for example, we have students who are transitioning from like hospitality, or perhaps they're a grad student, like completely new students at a university and undergrad. I would say you should be asking for about 70K. If you have other experience, if you have a BA, like a Master's of BA, for example, or if you have prior career knowledge, then you can be asking for a lot more than that. We have students who are starting their careers at 90K or 95 or 100K because they have more value that they are bringing from other jobs. The market is growing by 15 to 20% annually, and there's a 9.3 million job prediction by 2026. This job prediction was made, I think, in 2022, and it's still like on track to hit that many jobs are required, but we are nowhere near close to actually having that many people to fill those jobs. So the demand is definitely there. So how can you get started? There's a whole bunch of ways to learn Salesforce. There's a lot of free ways, which I'd really encourage you to check out. You can sign up for Trailhead. It's a really awesome free website where you can start learning Salesforce and getting involved. There's everything you could possibly want to learn about with Salesforce there. But it can be a bit overwhelming at times. So if you're looking for where to start, just send me a message on LinkedIn and I can probably recommend you some badges. Get Salesforce Admin certified. I would definitely recommend that. Do a project or two. If you can do a real world project, it's going to boost it. And join the community. The Salesforce community is very strong. Once you're in, you're kind of sucked in. It's a bit cult-like, I will warn you, but it's really, really strong. So there's user groups in Wellington and Auckland, and I think one in Christchurch as well. So join those. They're very cool. Cool. And that's it. Sorry, I went about 10 minutes over. I hope that's okay. But if you're interested in doing the course, we teach Salesforce Admin courses, and would love for you to have a 20% discount as part of being in this awesome group. So if you are interested, then the link's there, but I'll also put it in the chat. But also just reach out on LinkedIn, any questions that you have, or if you're curious about the space, then I'm always meeting with people and talking about all sorts of careers and Salesforce related things. So yeah, just get in touch. Would love to hear from you. And thank you so much. I think I'll pass it back to Annie.
Thank you, Amber. There's lots of information there. I'm still processing the information that you provided. But I do want to say that I agree with you that strategic thinking is a very, very important, because I spoke to one of the BA practice leaders just not long ago. A lot of people focus on the the critical thinking and just sort of brush it up a little bit on the strategic thinking, which is very important in how to see how we approach one problem, issue, or project, which is a lot of people wanted to see as well. Thank you, and your story is very inspiring for us. It's very interesting as well how you go down to this route. And I'm sure a lot of us has packed away with a fundamental understanding of the Salesforce and how this can progress, help us to progress the career further by equipping us with more, the technical skills. So now we are moving on to the Q&A session. So please send or upvote your questions that you want to hear answered. Just following the link here. Well, we've already got questions up there, which is great. Right. Now I'll read some questions that we have got to the top here. Are Salesforce roles easily transferable to other CRM applications, or are they fairly unique and specific to the Salesforce application in a domain? I think this is a very good question.
Yeah, excellent question. So there are a bunch of other CRMs available. Things like HubSpot is more popular for smaller companies or startups. SAP is an older system that is still very widely used. Oracle, of course, has a CRM as well, and heaps of others. So are Salesforce roles easily transferable to other CRM applications? I would say they would definitely give you a leg up into learning another CRM application. You'd probably be able to learn it in half or quarter of the time that it would take someone who had never learned that before. You're also, if the hiring manager knows what's going on, you would be much more likely to get a job because you have experience working with CRMs. As we talked about, a CRM, working in a CRM isn't just about the technology. It's about a lot of that project management. It's about the communication. And it's also about how you think. You know that, okay, we've got to consider security here. We've got to consider these reports and dashboards. We're trying to make it easier for people to work in a business and to get stuff done. That sort of thinking transfers directly. And all that needs to change is, all right, well, what buttons do I click to make this happen? But the actual decisions around what am I choosing to work on will stay the same regardless of what CRM system you're using. So yeah, I would say they are really transferable. If you had to choose one to learn though, I would still really recommend Salesforce, because if you look at the other CRMs and their trends over time, most of them are declining. HubSpot is on the rise as well, but Salesforce dominates the CRM market. I think they have like over 30%, 33% of the market, which is more than all of their other competitors combined. So if you're looking for one to transfer into others, I would still choose Salesforce. But if, for example, you're in a company that's using SAP, then learn that, absolutely. And then you can transition into like Salesforce later on and still have an awesome chance.
Awesome, thank you. Move on to the second question. Are there any features that Salesforce can do, but Dynamics can't? Which CRM will have more users in 5 years? Thank you. I think the second question you probably have answered just now already.
Yeah, so good question. Yeah, Salesforce will definitely have more users. even though Dynamics is like, they're part of, you know, a larger company, right? Microsoft is just huge. But Salesforce for CRMs is like the global leader for them. So people often choose Dynamics because they're a Microsoft shop, right? They've got Microsoft and all this sort of stuff. But often you're going to see more and more companies who are choosing, all right, well, I'm going to use Salesforce for my CRM. I'm going to use Azure for my cloud computing. I'm going to use whatever other software I'm going to use for this other thing and this other thing. And it's becoming more of an integrated sort of system and workplace. That's why you see roles like integration architect or cloud architect coming up. These didn't exist 10 years ago because there wasn't this problem. You know, people didn't try and mix and match all these solutions, but they do now. So there's a lot of features that Salesforce can do that Dynamics can't, because Salesforce is focused specifically on the CRMs. And it goes down to little things, you know, like tiny little features, which people love about Salesforce and hate about Dynamics, and vice versa. And then there's bigger products, like Salesforce does a whole marketing cloud product, which is about email marketing and tracking people's interaction and how they're interacting with an online presence and social media. You know, that's not part of Dynamics. So absolutely, they're not exactly the same, and it depends on the business. Yeah.
Next question: are there any challenges brought in by AI that a Salesforce admin would be facing?
Oh, cool question. Are there any challenges brought in by AI? I don't think challenges. I think more opportunities. Like there's some really cool things that AI can do with Salesforce. So for example, automatically responding to a lot of customer queries, automatically being able to rank all incoming customers by who is most likely to buy, for example. If you get 5,000 inquiries or 500 inquiries a day, who should you focus on if you've only got 25 salespeople? You know, well, AI can actually look at who's bought and then check out these incoming people and decide for you. So I'd say the challenge for a Salesforce admin is just keeping up. You know, there's so much cool stuff going on. I don't think the role is in any danger of being replaced, but because you're more using AI as a tool to make things better. And that's kind of where you want to be with all of this AI stuff. You don't want to be in a role that's going to be replaced. You want to be in a role that's using AI, and that is what a Salesforce admin would do.
Yeah, that is very true. How the BA Salesforce specialization is different from the admin role?
Great question. So there is actually a certification, a BA certification within Salesforce, because it's become such an issue that people need to know how to scope and prioritize and talk to this. So the admin role is more about learning, how does Salesforce work, right? Like, how do I build stuff in Salesforce? How does the basic Salesforce platform interact? It's very in it, like using it, understanding it, building it, creating solutions. Whereas the BA role is more about the requirements and the business side of things. My experience is that I think the admin role holds more weight in industry. The BA one is still useful, but if you pass the admin one, you're already going to know like majority of what you need to know for the BA one. So there's a huge big overlap there. I would say the admin one is a more difficult certification to get than the BA one, because it is a bit more technical. But technical doesn't mean that you can't learn it or that you need any technical experience. You can do it with zero Salesforce or technical experience and still do very, very well. So yeah, they are kind of different, but they complement each other really well.
I sort of want to throw Sophie on the spot here. I know she is currently a technical BA and has gained the Salesforce admin certificate. She probably have a better experience that can share with us how this Salesforce and knowledge that she gained from can benefit her current role. Sophie, do you mind throwing on this hotspot here to share your experience with us?
Yeah, no problem. I actually took a course when I already started my first BA role at NZX. I took like 3 months course, very intensive, and did a bunch of like real world project, which is really fascinating. And I think that deepened my knowledge and understanding of this complex concepts of Salesforce. So, and then I passed the certificate admin exam in February last year. Because I'm already working in the BA industry, so the reason why I didn't really change directly into Salesforce is that I don't want to just start over again, like from zero, from entry level. However, I found the knowledge that I gained from the course has been really transferable. So for example, I'm currently doing a project, working on a project relates to DevOps and a lot of stuff like Kubernetes, clusters, Docker, and all those kind of stuff like cloud bases. And it's really helped me to understand just a very simple example like access, role-based access. So this is something like a core concept of how you control a user access within the Salesforce. And I just instantly got the difference between authorization and authentication. It is not a like very straightforward things to understand, but yeah, I think this really helped me a lot through doing that course to apply to my daily job as a technical BA. So highly recommend. Yeah.
Sorry to throw you on the hot spot, Sophie. I think your story really can help us to understand a bit deeper in the roles after learning the Salesforce admin course. So move on to the next question. What were the key lessons or advice you would share in taking the plug-in, going independent as a contractor rather than taking a traditional grad pathway?
Great question. I think that if you're going independent as a contractor, you have to get comfortable with sales and networking and putting yourself out there. So as a contractor, the trade-off that you make is that your contract is going to end. Sometimes you don't know when it's going to end. It could be pretty random, but it will end at some point. And if the company starts to want to save cash, you will be the first one cut. So your job security is less, but what you get in return is you get a higher hourly or daily rate. All right. But you don't get any holiday pay or anything like that. So you have to be really comfortable with that situation. You have to be aware that, all right, well, if I'm doing a 6-month contract, after that, it may take me 2 months to find my next contract. You know, how do I mentally cope with that? how can I, you know, plan my life for that? So I think it's definitely a more stressful way to go. You also have to be comfortable working on your own and integrating yourself into other teams, because you don't have a manager, you don't have anyone to guide you in the same way that you would in a full-time job. So you kind of have to set that all up for yourself and find your own mentors and find your own sort of things. So I think that in the long run, it's a lot more work, but I'd say you learn faster just by having to do it yourself. And I think that you become more confident in what you can achieve. Plus, if you play your cards right, then the money is very, very good. Yeah.
The next question, how much effort do we need to put into to get Salesforce certified from zero knowledge?
Yes.
I think this is a lot of people want to ask this question, I think.
Yeah, I can see quite a few students who are on the call, and they're probably laughing a bit because it is tough. It is a lot to learn, and having taught, you know, the AWS and the Azure and the Salesforce entry-level certifications, I can tell you the Salesforce one is the hardest one. It is a tough certification to do. You do not need to have any prior experience to do it. And I want to make that really, really clear. Like, you don't need to have any programming experience or anything like that, but you do need to put in the time to be able to do this properly. So our courses, we recommend 6 months at 10 hours a week. So over 6 months, you put in 10 hours a week and you're pretty comfortable to go by then. Our summer course, which Sophie has done and a few others on the call are in the process of doing. This is a 20-hour-a-week course, so same exact course, but over 20 hours instead. And it's very intense because there's a lot that you need to learn. So I would recommend the 6-month one if you've got the time. But if you like putting yourself under a bit of pressure, then there's always a 3-month option for you. So yeah, I would say the biggest mistake is people underestimating how easy it's going to be because they think it's not coding, or it's not, you know, super, it doesn't feel super technical, but the exam is pretty tough. I don't know, Sophie, if you have anything to add there, but.
Yeah, I added in the chat box because I think it's quite difficult to pass. Like I had a colleague before, has been doing the Salesforce Admin for 2 years. However, she failed the exam just because she didn't really have a good understanding of the business problems and then linking it back to the Salesforce functions. So it is quite tough exam. You can't just understand the theory itself, but actually, yeah, being practical.
For sure.
On the question here, Amber, is that the course also provide the practice for the students as well who enroll in the course?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the course we do like all of our introductory work into Salesforce basics. Then you do a full real world project, which involves like a real company and working with them. And you do a big report and a demo on that, which you can then use in interviews and CVs and things. And then you do the exam study, which involves plenty of practice questions, so many that you're just going to get sick of them, plus a actual Salesforce exam, and then also your real Salesforce exam, which I think at retail is $200 US. That's all included in the cost of the course. So yeah, you get everything that you need in the course.
Cool, awesome. And because we are running close to the closing time, I'll choose another last 2 questions on this list here. So next one, how to do the learning to get admin certificate and get some practice at the same time?
Great question. And fortunately, the best way to study for your admin certification is to get in that real world practice. So we have real world projects on our courses, and we're also going to be releasing like a bit of a bank of some real world projects, which you can kind of do on your own time. But until we do that, because that's still probably about a month away, end of March, until that, you can do badges through Trailhead. I would really recommend that you try and do as many super badges. If you know, we won't get into it too much here, but if you just write down super badges and then go and look up those, that's a pretty good in-between step between like really holding your hand through Salesforce and then a real world project where it's kind of like you're on your own, go and figure some stuff out. Yeah, super badges are kind of like a good in-between. And they're great study. So, you know, I tell people the best way to study for an exam is just to spend as much time building stuff in Salesforce as you can. So yeah, just build as much as you can and you'll pass the exam fine.
Awesome. And the next question, which is going to be the last one, how to do a real project to practice if you're not in the real world that are using Salesforce? Where can I find the projects?
Yeah, great question. This is honestly such an important question because it's huge. It's like, it's how do you get the job if you don't have any real world experience? But you know, how can you get the real world experience if you don't have a job? And this is a big problem. You know, we solve it on our course, but that still can be quite expensive for people. So we are solving this problem by creating this bank of projects from previous courses and just creating a whole bunch of new ones as well, which we'll be releasing at the end of March. So if you are interested in like learning that, then it could be a good time. You know, if you're just learning Salesforce for the first time now and you spend from now to the end of March getting the basics, and then when the projects come out, then you've got a bit of a challenge. So if you want to be in line to get those projects, we're giving them out for free. So you can go ahead and, you know, work on them on your own. Then just connect with me on LinkedIn because that's where I usually share everything. And then you'll know because I will post about it. But you can also join our mailing list because we'll post about them there.
Awesome. And Sophie has already posted all the important information in this chat box. So check that out after this meeting is ended. And thank you so much, Amber. Thank you for your time today. And thanks everyone for joining the session. I know we don't have enough time to you know, ask all the questions to Amber to get answered, but feel free to connect with Sophie on the LinkedIn as she mentioned, also feel free to connect with Sophie, and I think she would love to be your mentor and answer the questions that you may have. Just to let everyone know that we will upload the recording for the session to our BA Career YouTube channel. So welcome to subscribe. So if you do like our events, please refer us to your friends and colleagues. And that would be us today. And so I hope to see you all in the next coming event on the 22nd of February with Dr. Elizabeth Valentine. So follow us on the meetup links and connect with Sophie Chen. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Great session.
Thank
Bye.
you, Emma. Thank you, the host.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.